I transmigrated into an old-school romance novel as the deeply devoted second male lead. I clearly know every single point at which the male lead humiliates the female lead. He will secretly tamper with her college application just to cheer up the female supporting character. He will cause trouble at the place where the female lead works, making her lose her job. He will even refuse to take safety precautions because he doesn't want to, ultimately causing the female lead to lose her ability to conceive. And the so-called journey to win back his wife is nothing more than the female lead refusing to reconcile with the male lead at the very end, turning around and throwing herself into the arms of me, the second male lead. It's a bit laughable. Right now is the very first major angst point of the entire story. The male lead falsely accuses the female lead of stealing something in front of the whole class. Willow bites her lip, her expression anxious as she looks at me for help. George, could you please testify for me? I really didn't steal anything. This is also the starting point where the female lead begins to develop feelings for me. I don't even need to testify for her. All it would take is a light, casual sentence, "I believe you," and the task would be perfectly completed. Yet, facing her eyes brimming with tears, I calmly turn my head away and avoid her gaze. Chapter 1. Sorry, I wasn't in the classroom at noon, so I can't testify for you. When she heard my answer, the light in Willow's eyes instantly dimmed. A trace of smug satisfaction flashed across Makoto's face. With his hands in his pockets, he strolled over to Willow, his tone laced with disdain and condescension. "Willow, I know your family is poor, but no matter what, you can't steal Maria's things. Do you even know what that jade bangle means to her? It was a keepsake her grandmother left behind." Maria stepped out from behind Makoto. Her eyes were filled with tears as she asked in a trembling voice, "Willow, that jade bangle is really important to me. I can give you 100,000. Could you please return it to me?" Whispers rippled through the class. Is this for real? Willow would actually do something like that. She never goes back to the dorm at noon. I thought she was just super dedicated to studying. Turns out she was figuring out how to steal from classmates. Well, she is someone who got promoted from a trash middle school. It's not surprising she'd like petty theft. Amid the murmurs, Willow stubbornly straightened her back. She clenched her fists and gritted her teeth. "It really wasn't me. I didn't steal anything. If you don't believe me, you can check the surveillance cameras." Makoto let out a cold laugh. "Willow, what kind of act are you putting on? You know perfectly well the classroom cameras broke the day before yesterday. Maria's already offering you 100,000. Can you stop being so stubborn?" Maria spoke again, soft and gentle. "Yes, Willow, that bracelet itself isn't worth much. It's just emotionally important to me. If you think the money isn't enough, I can add more. Everyone still has self-study to do. Let's not disturb everyone over such a small matter." "Okay." I glanced at the watch on my wrist. 13:05. In 5 minutes, the homeroom teacher would walk in through the door, and Willow, Makoto, and Maria would all be called to the office. That jade bangle was extremely valuable. No matter how much the homeroom teacher usually favored Willow, there was no way this could be brushed off lightly. Willow's mother would be summoned to the school. The moment she entered the office, she would slap Willow across the face. Then, like a lapdog, she would fawn over Makoto and Maria, apologizing profusely. "Young master, young miss, I'm so sorry. I failed to discipline my child properly. This girl, Willow, is just like her irresponsible father. Her morals have been bad since she was little. I've scolded her so many times, but it never worked." Then she would turn on Willow, glaring at her in fury. "You little beast. Why aren't you apologizing to the young master and young miss right now? Where did you hide the thing? Hurry up and give it back." She sold vegetables at the market, born with a booming voice. Her rage and ingratiating tone would echo through the entire floor. All of Willow's previous denials and insistence would be completely crushed by her. Even when Maria's butler came to the school the next day to apologize, saying the bracelet had been found in the bedroom, it would already be too late. Willow would be thoroughly branded as someone with bad character and sticky fingers. Wherever she went, the whispers followed. As for Makoto's apology, it amounted to nothing more than buying her breakfast for an entire semester. At this very moment, the homeroom teacher was still on the way. Makoto said impatiently, "Willow, how about I add another 50,000? You shouldn't be so greedy. The surveillance cameras are working." He froze. "What did you say?" I twirled the pen in my hand once, then let it come to a steady stop at my fingertips. My gaze landed on Makoto. I said, "The cameras are working. They were just out of battery. I replaced them with new ones yesterday." Maria's face turned slightly pale. She forced a smile and said, "We're all classmates. There's really no need to check the cameras, right? As long as you apologize. Willow, I'll forgive you." Makoto frowned. "Willow, even if we check the footage, the one who'll be embarrassed is still you. I want to see it." Willow's face was deathly pale, but her eyes shone brightly. She stared hard at Makoto and Maria, her voice thin and strained. as if forced through a narrow slit in her throat, sharp and piercing. I didn't steal anything. I want to see the surveillance footage. 5 minutes were up. The homeroom teacher appeared at the classroom door. She swept her gaze across the room, frowned, and asked, "What are you all arguing about?" Chapter 2. After hearing the whole story, the homeroom teacher told the other students to continue with self-study, then took the 3 of them to the office to check the surveillance footage. Half an hour later, the 3 returned to the classroom. Willow's face was still a little pale, but her back was ramrod straight. Makoto wore a stiff expression and didn't say a word. The most interesting one was Maria. She walked at the very front, calm and composed, with an I-knew-it-all-along look on her face. The homeroom teacher said, "All right, let's continue with class." As she turned around, the moment her electronic pen touched the whiteboard, I spoke softly, asking with apparent curiosity, "Teacher, so was that bracelet really stolen by Willow?" The homeroom teacher's gaze paused on me. At the same time, Willow tightened her grip on the pen in her hand and looked at me. I shrugged and smiled. After all, she's my deskmate. If she really has a habit of petty theft, I'd better hide my own things carefully. Idiot. She thought her innocence had already been proven. So she sat back down calmly and opened her textbook. Little did she know that just from the arrogance written all over Maria's face, she was still a thief in the eyes of her classmates. Maria frowned, cleared her throat lightly, and was just about to say something. Before the words left her mouth, they were drowned out by another low voice. The bracelet wasn't stolen by Willow. Makoto looked at me and said each word clearly. She stayed at her seat the entire noon break. She never left. Is that so? I smiled faintly. Then it seems I won't need to change to a new deskmate after all. Maria suddenly let out a sob, tears rolling down in strings. This is all my fault. I accidentally wronged Willow. I nodded. It really is your fault. Bringing something that expensive to school for no reason. Today you wronged Willow. Tomorrow who are you going to wrong? The moment those words came out, the classroom erupted into murmurs. Someone whispered, "Yeah, if it's that precious, why bring it to school at all? What if it accidentally gets damaged? Are we supposed to compensate her too?" She came back looking so smug. I really thought Willow had stolen it. Maria raised a hand to cover her face. Sobs leaked through her fingers as her body swayed unsteadily. Makoto said angrily, "George, Maria has already apologized. What more do you want from her?" I tilted my head and asked, "Makoto, do you like Maria?" "Why you're talking nonsense. I just treat Maria like a younger sister." His face flushed red, his voice suddenly rising as he swung a fist at me viciously. I raised both hands in a gesture of surrender. I was joking. Enough. The homeroom teacher knocked the whiteboard irritably. "Stop messing around. This class is about to turn into a vegetable market." She warned sternly. "You're all in second year of high school now. Focus on your studies and stop getting involved in pointless nonsense every day." Once class began, I propped my head up on my desk and dozed off. Suddenly, something nudged my arm. It was a thick math notebook. I turned my head and saw Willow pressing her lips together, listening attentively to the lecture. The knuckles of the hand holding her pen were pale from the force, and there was a thick callus on her middle finger where she rested the pen. After marrying Makoto, those calluses slowly softened and peeled away. In the end, the girl who had once filled stack after stack of exam papers became a wealthy lady with long, fair fingers, untouched by any hard labor. I let out a soft scoff, pushed the notebook back, and said indifferently, "No need." Then I turned my head to the other side and went back to sleep. Chapter 3. Perhaps out of guilt. The next day Makoto brought Willow breakfast. Willow refused him. "No need. You can keep it for yourself." Makoto stood there awkwardly, holding convenience store rice balls and freshly squeezed juice. A trace of irritation gathered between his brows. "Makoto doesn't eat this kind of stuff," Maria said with a smile. "We always have breakfast made by the servants at home." She added considerately, "Makoto, maybe Willow isn't used to eating these. Next time, why don't you ask the driver to buy her some street-side steamed buns and soy milk instead?" Willow tried to explain. If you don't want it, then don't eat it." Makoto cut her off impatiently, tossing the breakfast onto Willow's desk before dragging Maria back to their seats. "If you're not eating it, just throw it in the trash." In the original story, Willow really did throw Makoto's breakfast into the trash. The bell for morning self-study rang. The classroom fell quiet, filled only with the soft scratching of pen tips against paper. A moment later, I heard Willow beside me sniff very lightly. In the end, she was still just a young girl. I sighed, picked up the slightly squashed rice balls and juice that had been thrown onto her desk, and said, "Hey, I didn't eat enough this morning. How about I trade you milk for these?" She looked up at me in surprise. Her eyes, washed with tears, were big and bright. She stammered, "No need to trade. I'm not hungry. You can just take them." How could she not be hungry? She helped her mother set up a vegetable stall at the market at 4 in the morning, then had to catch 3 buses by 6:15 to get to school, because the school provided free lunch and dinner. Willow only ate 2 meals a day. Often, when she woke up in the morning, her stomach was already numb with hunger. At her age, Willow was as thin as a bamboo pole that would fall over with a single push. And yet, even so, she believed her dignity mattered more than an empty stomach. So foolish, I said coldly. I don't like owing people favors. A fair exchange benefits both of us. Willow blinked. All right. She reached out and took the bottle of milk. Suddenly, Makoto kicked the desk hard behind us. I pretended not to hear it, quietly tore open the rice ball wrapper under the desk, and took a bite. Cheese chicken flavor. Pretty good. As soon as class ended, Makoto called Willow out. I went to the restroom to wash my hands first, then strolled slowly to the corner, holding a vocabulary book. I openly eavesdropped. Makoto asked, "If you weren't going to eat what I gave you, fine, but why did you give it to George?" Willow replied, "You already gave it to me. What I do with it is none of your business." Makoto was silent for a few seconds. "Willow, I just wanted to apologize. Maria's bracelet was found in her bedroom last night. She probably rubbed it off while sleeping. I didn't mean to wrong you," Willow said. "Makoto, you don't need to explain anything to me, and I don't care about your apology." She pushed past Makoto and walked back to the classroom. Makoto stared at her back with an unreadable expression. After standing there alone for a moment, he turned and left as well. I'd seen enough of the drama. When I turned around, I ran straight into Maria. She stood behind me with her arms crossed. Her delicate face was completely indifferent. I reminded her, "If you don't confess soon, Maria, Makoto might change his heart." "Why would I confess?" She looked at me strangely. "I don't even like him." "Then why are you targeting Willow?" She sneered. "If a dog that used to circle around you every day suddenly starts wagging its tail at someone else, how would you feel?" I said. "No feeling at all. It's just a simp. I don't care who it wags its tail for." Maria froze. After a few seconds of silence, she asked gloomily, "Do you men all like girls like Willow?" "What kind of girls?" "Poor, pretty, and looking like some pitiful, fragile little flower," I said. "First, I don't think Willow is a fragile little flower. Second, I don't like that type either. They're too easy to break." "Then what do you like?" "I like vicious ones, extremely vicious flowers with a strong, intoxicating scent," I said unhurriedly. "Just like you. So, how about considering me?" "Are you sick?" Maria was so angry her cheeks flushed pink. She shot me a vicious glare and ran back to the classroom. Chapter 4. Makoto did not feel discouraged by Willow's rejection. Instead, it was as if he had locked horns with her. He kept delivering breakfast to Willow for an entire semester. All of that food ended up being bartered away by Willow and sent straight into my stomach. Naturally, what I gave Willow in return was not cheap either. After one semester, Willow's face finally filled out a bit, and she shot up in height as well. By visual estimate, she had already surpassed 170 centimeters. In the original text, the word used to describe her was petite. Now, no matter how you looked at her, that word no longer applied. Women should be strong and powerful. Only then can they fight back against ill-intentioned predators and boldly walk the path that belongs to them. Willow and I maintained a lukewarm relationship. Aside from exchanging breakfasts every day and occasionally copying her homework, we had no private interactions whatsoever. Today, after we finished swapping breakfasts, Willow stopped me. "George," she avoided my gaze, clearly struggling to speak. "Could you lend me some money?" I slipped my hands into my pockets and asked, "How much?" 100,000. She said it softly, then hurriedly explained, "My mom has been diagnosed with cancer. She's been enrolled in a clinical trial group, but the upfront treatment costs still have to be paid by us first. I know it's very rude to suddenly ask you for such a large sum, but I really can't think of anyone else to turn to. I can write you an IOU, and once the reimbursement comes through, I'll pay you back immediately." Willow's mother is named Sandra Liu. Willow Liu wasn't originally surnamed Liu. It was only after her father ran away with the neighbor's wife that an enraged Sandra changed Willow's last name. To escape the surrounding whispers and pointing fingers, Sandra took the young Willow and left their hometown, settling down in this unfamiliar city. She hated Willow for carrying that man's blood, hated her for being a girl, hated her for failing to keep her husband, but at the same time, she still went out early and came home late every day to support her. Sandra was nurturing a flower she despised, and when she fell, that flower wanted to use its tender stem to hold her up. In the original plot, the person Willow borrowed money from was Makoto, because Makoto was willing to apologize for wronging her and had brought her breakfast for an entire semester. She thought he was a good person. Most importantly, Makoto came from a very wealthy family. When she hesitantly made her request, Makoto said nothing. He simply looked down at her from above. The next day, the money was transferred into her account. Willow joyfully transferred the money to the hospital. At that time, she didn't know that everything in the world comes with a price. At the very moment she borrowed that money, the power dynamic between her and Makoto began to reverse. They were no longer equals. So even after she eventually paid the money back, Makoto would forever hold the favor of saving her mother's life over her. She became someone he could summon and dismiss at will. Even when her college major was forcibly changed, a major turning point in her life, she could only accept it in silence. I looked into Willow's eyes. Hidden within them were tension and pleading, like a fawn that had wandered into a hunter's trap. It was indeed very effective at stirring a man's urge to destroy and to toy with. I asked her, "Willow, 100,000. How long would your mom have to sell vegetables at the market to earn that much?" Her face went pale. I continued with the next sentence. "My family may be wealthy, but that money didn't come from the wind. We're just ordinary classmates, at most. We sat next to each other for 2.5 years. On what basis do you think I'd lend you such a huge sum? And besides, Willow, borrowing money from a man comes at a price." I deliberately let my gaze travel up and down her body before going on. "I don't think you can afford that price, George." Willow's eyes brimmed with tears as she questioned me in a low voice. "If you're not going to lend it, then don't. But why do you have to humiliate me like this?" I snorted softly through my nose, turned my head, and flipped open the book in front of me. That's the truth. For the entire class period, Willow looked distracted and said nothing, probably having overheard our conversation. Makoto called Willow out again after class. He said to her, "I can lend you the money." Willow's eyes were still a little red as she asked, "What are your conditions?" Makoto fell silent for a moment before saying, "From now on, don't give the breakfasts I buy you to George anymore. Just that." "Just that." Willow bit her lip and stood there for a moment. "Thank you, but no need," she said. "George is right. Borrowing money from a man is not a good thing. Sometimes, what's free is the most expensive." Makoto paced back and forth irritably, lowering his voice as he shouted, "Willow, at a time like this you're still throwing a tantrum. George's words are so useful. Can they make your mom better? That's the woman who gave birth to you and raised you. The most important thing right now is to get the money as soon as possible to save her." "I'll find a way," Willow said. "What way can you possibly find?" Makoto blurted out without thinking. "That's 100,000. Who would give you that for free? Go sell yourself, then you might as well sell only to me." Smack. Makoto's face was knocked to one side. Willow withdrew her reddened palm, her eyes blazing with fury. "Makoto, shut your filthy mouth and get lost. My family's affairs have nothing to do with you." Makoto was quiet for a moment, then suddenly let out a cold laugh. "You really don't know how to appreciate kindness." He raised his hand, about to grab Willow by the neck. Chapter 5. TSK. The stench of a cliché plot was overwhelming. I stepped out from the corner and said to Willow, "Willow, the homeroom teacher is looking for you." Willow glanced at me with a complicated expression, said nothing, then ran off with a deathly pale face. Makoto stared at me darkly, pressing his tongue against the cheek that had been slapped. "George, why do you show up everywhere?" I said. "Sorry, I feel the same way." His expression darkened even more. "You interested in Willow?" "No interest." "Then why do you always stick your nose in?" "Yeah, why is that?" I smiled and echoed his words, nodding to myself. "Maybe because I'm a champion of justice," Makoto said. "Our families also cooperate in business. Why do things have to get this ugly?" I replied. "I don't understand business matters. I'm just a high school student. But there is something I've been curious about. No idea if you'd be willing to satisfy my curiosity." "Say it." I spoke with a gentle smile. "Makoto, does your dad treat your mom like this too?" 5 minutes before the class bell rang, Willow returned to the classroom. Her gaze swept past Makoto, who was talking to Maria. She asked me, "What's wrong with him? Why does he look so sour?" I let out a soft snort. "Who knows?" She snapped back to herself and asked, "George, did you tell the homeroom teacher about my family situation?" I didn't answer directly. I asked instead, "What did she want you for?" Willow said, "She told me not to worry and to focus on studying. She said she'd find a way to help me raise the money." I gave a lukewarm, "Oh, congratulations. You don't have to borrow money everywhere anymore." After hesitating, Willow said softly, "George, thank you." I tugged at the corner of my lips and ignored her. The next second, I pulled out my phone from my pocket and transferred 100,000 to the homeroom teacher. The teacher messaged back, "Are you sure you don't want me to tell Willow that you're the one lending her the money?" I replied, "No need. You're her teacher. It's better if the money comes from you." She responded again, "George, you're a good kid." A wave of goosebumps ran all over me. I quickly turned off the phone screen. The only real advantage of being reincarnated as the male supporting role was that I had an absurd amount of money. Money can solve many problems. It lets me eat well and stay warm, spares me from running around in circles, gives me the best education, and offers me more choices. I cherish that, so I'm willing to deal with the small troubles that come with this identity. Sandra still died. Her cancer had been discovered too late. No treatment plan could turn things around. Willow didn't come to school for several days. When she finally reappeared, She looked listless, with a small white flower pinned to her clothes. I said to her, "My condolences." She didn't look at me. She hummed softly in response and lowered her head to twist open the cap of her pen. "George," she said quietly, "from now on, I'm all alone." I said, 3 years ago, my parents died in a plane crash on their way to vacation. I've always been alone." Willow froze, her lips trembling. "I'm sorry, I didn't know." I clicked the button on my pen and said calmly, "It's all in the past. I wasn't really a high school student anyway, of course I could bear all this." Willow stayed silent. After a moment, she asked in confusion, "Then don't you ever feel lonely?" Before I could answer, she gave a self-mocking smile and continued, "Actually, my relationship with my mom wasn't good, because of my dad. She was always either hitting me or yelling at me. I can understand her, but I can't forgive her. When I found out she had cancer, I didn't feel anything, not sad, not heartbroken. I even felt a sense of relief, but after she died, every night when I go back alone to that empty house, I still end up missing her a little." She bit her lip, looking at me uneasily, and asked, "George, am I very selfish?" Chapter 6. In the original book, Sandra wasn't cured either. After she died, Willow wanted to return the reimbursed money to Makoto. Makoto refused to take it. He stayed by Willow's side gently, caring for her with meticulous attention, bringing her an umbrella when it rained, buying her clothes when it was cold. He even took charge of Willow's 3 meals a day. He wasn't a particularly skilled hunter, yet he successfully coaxed Willow, who had just lost her mother, into his arms. He didn't love Willow. His obsession with her came from that semester's worth of breakfasts thrown into the trash, and from countless cold rejections. Willow was someone completely different from him. She was a collectible he desired but never obtained. Toward things one cannot have, people always breed a strange kind of fixation. Makoto was exactly like that. He craved Willow's love, and once he got it, he discarded that precious affection like worthless trash. So in the end, was he punished? No. He inherited the family company, divorced Willow, married a new wife, and went on to have a whole bunch of children. The author used countless delicate techniques to write about Makoto's regrets. She wrote about him standing before a beautiful, affectionate wife, yet thinking of that summer when Willow sat in front of him, her ponytail swaying gently. She wrote about him watching his lively children, yet unconsciously thinking of the embryo Willow had aborted. She wrote about his excitement upon reuniting with Willow, the pain he endured to set her free, the regret of being forced to let go, and the magnanimous blessings he put on as an act. Hypocritical, despicable. Why should a beneficiary of privilege be forgiven for everything he's done just because he sheds a single tear? I asked Willow, "What's so bad about being selfish?" In this world, women are always subjected to all kinds of conditioning as they grow up. Fairy tales teach you to be kind, to become a little mermaid who willingly dissolves into foam for a prince. Mothers teach you to be gentle and graceful, to become a virtuous wife and loving mother who sacrifices everything for a man. Later, after reading some miscellaneous books, you learn that being too mild and obedient won't do either. You must be cultured and refined, able to brew tea and trade poetry with men, yet not allowed to be as romantic or indulgent as they are. They are obsessed with turning you into a good person, a delicate and beautiful ornament, because only then can they blind you and block your path upward. But Willow, you can't be like this. You can't become their accomplice and blind yourself along with them. I said to Willow, I think that when the word selfish is applied to you, it should be regarded as an extraordinarily noble quality. Willow, grow your edges. Don't be a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Willow stood there for a long time. She asked in confusion, "George, why are you able to say things like this?" "Who knows?" I replied. "Maybe I've just read so much pseudo-humanist literature that I've gone numb." Chapter 7. Makoto still hadn't given up on Willow. Willow's coldness and avoidance were like pouring oil onto a blazing fire, igniting his competitiveness even further. To make his stance clear, he even took the initiative to distance himself from Maria. During PE class, after Willow finished running 1,500 meters and came back, Makoto hurried over, raising the milk tea he had just bought. "Willow, are you tired? Do you want to?" Before he could finish saying drink some milk tea, the cold cup in his hand was snatched away by another hand. Maria held the milk tea. Her eyes instantly reddened as she asked, "Makoto, wasn't this prepared for me?" An awkward expression appeared on Makoto's face. He hesitated for a moment, then said, "Maria, I bought this especially for Willow. How about I buy you another one?" "No need." Willow walked past them without even glancing sideways. "Drinking something cold right after exercise isn't good, and if I want milk tea, I'll buy it for myself," Makoto hurriedly said. Then Maria, "You can have this one." "Willow, I'll buy you a warm one." "Okay." Willow didn't acknowledge him at all and walked straight back to the classroom to continue revising. Makoto turned back dejectedly and met Maria's gently smiling face. Her brows curved softly. "Maria." "Makoto, do you know?" Maria held up the milk tea and said in a soft, delicate voice, I actually really hate things that are handed down to me by someone else. It makes me feel cheap. Her fingers loosened, and the milk tea fell to the ground, bursting open like a water-filled balloon. The murky liquid splashed in all directions. She passed by Makoto and walked toward the teaching building, leaving Makoto alone, standing there in a daze. After the college entrance exam, Makoto performed poorly and went to university in City C. Maria was admitted to a film and television academy. This time, no one could alter Willow's application choices anymore. No one could derail her life again. On the day she received her admission letter, Willow called me. Her voice was brimming with barely concealed excitement. George, I got into University A. I walked out onto the balcony, leaned against the railing, and said congratulations. Willow asked cautiously, George, where are you going to university? The moonlight was perfect tonight. Rarely in the mood to say more, I replied. The UK. Silence followed. On the other end of the call, only her shallow breathing remained, as if she were forcing herself to suppress something. I waited patiently for her to speak. Finally, she asked in a hoarse voice, will we still have a chance to see each other again? I sighed. Willow, all right, I understand. Willow cut me off sharply. Then her voice softened again, trembling with restrained sobs. If we can't meet again, George, then I wish you safety. Safety, happiness, a smooth life. She hung up. I stood in the darkness for a few seconds, feeling hollow, when my phone received a text message. It was a bank deposit notification. Amount, 100,000. Note, thank you. Chapter 8. 8 years later, I earned my PhD and returned to the country to inherit the family business. After forgetting some password verification nonsense, I logged into a QQ account I hadn't used in ages. I struggled through an inbox full of spam ads, looking for the verification code, and unexpectedly discovered the emails Willow had sent me over the years. Hello, George. It's been a long time. I don't know how you've been. My university life has been pretty good. I really like my professors, my classmates, and my major, and I even received a scholarship. After learning about my family situation, my advisor took the initiative to invite me to work in her lab. The monthly stipend isn't much, but at least I don't have to worry about money anymore. I was still wondering whether I should take on tutoring jobs, but now it seems unnecessary. I've graduated and found a fairly decent job. My supervisor values me a lot, and before long I put together a small team of my own. It's exhausting, but I'm lucky. I'm doing something I truly enjoy. I ran into Makoto during a business dinner. He turned out to be our new client. He looks much greasier than before, and his personality is just as annoying. He actually asked me in private whether I'd accept being kept by him. I smashed a wine bottle over his head and knocked some sense into him. The next day, when I went to my supervisor with a resignation letter, she rejected it. She told me not to worry and said the company wouldn't sell out its own employees. Sure enough, a few days later she informed me to return to work. The company had already terminated its cooperation with Makoto. How wonderful, George. I thank her, and I also thank my own courage that night. But the person I'm most grateful to is you. In those brief 3 years, you shaped the toughest, most resilient foundation of my character. You gave me the courage, in countless choices later in life, to choose myself. I had a dream last night. I dreamed that back in high school, I accepted Makoto's confession. Under the guise of doing what was best for me, he arbitrarily changed my college application so I ended up majoring in the same field as him. I didn't like that major, so I drifted through university in a haze. After graduating, I married him, became a housewife, and even had an abortion for him. From then on, I lost the ability to become a mother. What a nightmare. Oh, right, the you in the dream was different from the real you. He smiled more than you do in reality and treated me more gently. He was a good man with no temper at all. Like a sponge, he was like a puzzle piece, perfectly filling in my shattered life in that dream. So perfect that it felt fake, and it made me feel relieved when I woke up in shock. Thank goodness it was just a dream. Thank goodness you aren't him. I held my coffee cup and stared from dusk until dawn, my mouse resting on the last email. It had been sent at 7 in the morning the day before yesterday. My plane back home had just landed. I opened it. Inside was only a single line. Can we still meet again? Below it was a string of phone numbers. Email is a good thing. It lets you avoid seeing the trembling handwriting, the creased stationery, and the tears that accidentally fall. All you see are neat, serious words and a blinking cursor. And so, you can click delete without any sense of guilt. I emptied my inbox with a single click. There's no need to meet again. The world is vast, and Willow is its female lead. Her life doesn't need to be confined to choosing between a male lead or a male supporting role. She can meet countless new people and embrace countless new possibilities. That's what I want to tell Willow, and what I want to tell myself. Goodbye, Willow. Please keep moving forward, don't look back.